Hello, my name is Dave Langsather, and this video is going to be called 3 Tones of Wood Used for Violin Making. There's basically 3 wood tones we're going to talk about today. One is tap tone, and we use that to shape, fine-tune the various parts of the violin so they work well together. And the rub tone, it's an important property of wood that determines the quality of the sound, how quick the sound travels through the wood, not too fast, not too slow. And the third is wood tone, and this is just a property of the wood itself or the tree that gives a better sound, a higher quality sound. So let's get right into it. First we'll talk about the wood tone, and I've made a demonstration piece to illustrate that. You see, it's just a wood frame and bases, and then there's wood blocks on the top. Okay, and this is a sample. You'll see this is the same width and length. So these are what the blocks are. They're just cut out rectangles of spruce. And this is a support base. And you'll see in between here there's some little piano wires in the appropriate place so they ring best. Okay. So this wood tone scale also demonstrates, I'll move the camera over here. Okay. So with this one device we can demonstrate all 3. Wood tone, tap tone, and rub tone. So as far as wood tone, I can hear if this is very musical. You come to the, that's not on the wood tone scale. And these are all on the wood tone scale. And it's interesting that these frequencies, 162, 176, 198, 213, 242, 287, 324, 352, and 396 are a natural progression found in nature. We go to a maple tree in my backyard, and you'll see this is my tap tone tool. You can read about on violinresearch.com, and much of that website's geared to tap tone tuning the frequencies of various parts of the instrument. But this is just a scale, spruce, quarter sawn spruce, and it's calibrated, so if you hear it. And for violin making, we're really only concerned with this range, from 176 to 242. And see if you can see this properly. Get a good light on it here. But if we tap on the trunk of a maple tree in the backyard, we find the tap frequency is 176. And then and that's from top to the bottom, it's all the same. And if you go to the first branch off the trunk, we'll find out it's 162. And if we go to the first branch off that branch, which would be the second branch off the trunk, it's 144, third branch, fourth branch. And if we tap these, they sound in harmony with each other. And then if we can experiment a little bit, we'd find that the next is 198, the next is 213, 242, 287, 324, and so on. And these end up being the frequencies for stringed instruments. This is like the top plate and the fingerboard of the violin, the back plate, the tailpiece, and many of the other parts of the violin. This is the tuning bar, string bar of the tailpiece, and then we get up here to the top plate of and back plate of the double bass, and so on in the cello. They're all on the scale, and the wood tone scale is also on the same scale, but it's a different type. So this part's going to be about wood tone. And I didn't turn on my timer. So, the wood tone scale, if the wood, the natural characteristic of the wood, is on one of these frequencies, then that wood will have a better sound to it. Okay, so in a tonewood forest, if we take an example of a sample of many of the trees in a tonewood forest, we'll find that 35% of the spruce trees are right here at 198, which is the ideal wood for spruce. And if we did maple or ebony, we'd find out that 35% of those trees, according to my samples, would be a 242, which is the basic ideal wood for the hardwoods, for ebony and for maple. So these other frequencies, 213 has some use for certain parts, it appears. But these are the pieces of wood we'd like. And I think if you listen, there's a natural musical ability of wood tone wood. Okay, now in addition, let's talk about the rub tone. Okay, this will be about rub tone. And on this, each piece of wood also has a rub tone. And this is a rub tone scale. I'll open up part of this. So if you just had a large sample of violin making wood, you'd find the rub tone varies along here, and the one we want is right here at 22. That's the ideal. And see if I can demonstrate this. So we're just going to listen to tone quality as a general thing. I think here it goes up to a point and then it goes down again. And so that's the so this is the ideal, and then done a different way. Alright, so this is a piece of 213 wood tone and a 22 rub tone. And so I'd mark these, what the rub tone is, and so this would be our ideals. So if you're picking out a piece of wood at home, if you just stroke it, that's what you'd like to hear. Okay? And so this is 21.5, 21, 22.5, 23. So I'll just go through that sequence for you. Here's kind of a tone drop off. And I'd estimate that about a 10% tone drop off from 22 to 21, but this is by half step. Okay, then going up, 22.5, 23. The same sort of a drop off. And the difference, this is +1 and that's -1. So about the same drop off whether it's one high or one low. And so you can tell by our sample that there can be a range of maybe 10% of the pieces in an ideal wood tone piece of wood will have the right rub tone. So you have 35% is on the wood tone and 10% is on the rub tone. That you have 0.1 times 0.35, you get about 3% of the wood that is sold as tone wood is actually ideal. And it's either one higher or one lower, you've got pretty good. And there'd be another 3% of each of those. So that's the wood we're actually going to be looking for making our instrument. Now, let's see what we've got on our timer here. Okay, still got 10 minutes. So let's say we've got wondering what wood should we use. And so this is some interesting characteristics of wood tone. Now we can excite the wood tone with the first knuckle of our middle finger. First knuckle will generate the wood tone. Versus this would be a tap tone. Okay, we can also generate the wood tone with a leather mallet. So this is a piece of wood dowel, and this is deerskin leather, and I've turned the rough side out. You can see it's about 6 layers wrapped around tightly, and then just nailed on. Okay. You can also buy a commercial leather mallet, and this is basically rawhide leather with some sort of a binder, probably a resin of some sort. And to get this to work, you have to kind of rough up the end of the hammer with a mallet with a good heavy hammer, kind of loosen it up. So good. Okay, so all these are tools to determine, is this a good piece of wood for an instrument? So once you have the pieces on the wood tone scale, it can be any of these frequencies. Listen to the difference. It should sound in exact harmony, for instance here. So it sounds in harmony. Now, if a piece is not on the wood tone scale, this is what we hear. I'll just use this one. There you go. So the interesting thing is it sounds the same distance, in this case sounds high. And it doesn't matter which of the wood tone block we're using. It gives the same response. Now to see which wood tone this actually is, we'll just listen. Sounds lower. A little lower. This one's higher. So it's closer, it's somewhere in between these two, and I guesstimated about 310. So even though this is a beautiful piece of spruce from an old growth forest, it's Engelmann spruce, we would say maybe we shouldn't use that piece. Okay. This is our next sample we're going to look at. You can see this is a beautiful piece of really old growth Engelmann spruce from northern British Columbia, Canada. And let's see how it is. So see the advantage if you had any one of these wood tone pieces, you can use it as a reference for picking out your wood. There's low, sounds the same amount of lowness, and for the actual frequency, wood tone, let's see what it is. Somewhere in between these two, and I estimated about 275. So that's a piece of wood you'd die for. Beautiful, steady grain, but and it's even got a 22 rub tone, which is the ideal. So the rub tone you can hear is, this is versus 21. versus 23. So it's the ideal rub tone, but it's the wrong wood tone. And let's see what we can hear. It's noisier. Okay. And we'll go back to our first piece we looked at. Okay, so it's a beautiful Engelmann spruce, about a 310 wood tone. It's not on the wood tone scale, and an 18 rub tone. So this is ideal. Is really low. So if it's a 10% drop off from here to there, the 10% to 20%, 30%, so this would be 40% loss in tone. Let's see if it, see, it loses a lot of that ring. And again, kind of noisy. So third piece I've laid out here is a piece of Sitka spruce, and I've written on it what I think it is, so but we'll listen to it. So it's in harmony. We know it's on the wood tone scale. Then see which one it is. And say it's 198, which is the ideal wood tone scales for or spruce for the top plate. And then as far as the rub tone, compare it to 22. 22, this is 21. 23. That's up. That's down. So this is an ideal piece of wood. It's a 4 spruce, 198 wood tone, and a 22 rub tone. And so when you listen to it, it's got a solid wood tone, very little noise component to it. And we'll saw that in half, and that'll make our top plate. So this is what we're looking for. And the same thing applies to maple, except for it would be a 242